Hey, Mario.
What page are we? I didn't come last
I,
week.
I think 102.
102. Wow. Shaking dust or dew of a garment.
Yeah. Don't you dare shake your dust or dew off.
Mhm. You have a big center, no?
Yeah. I went to the beach today.
Oh,
I played hooky.
that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
You?
grandkids are still here?
No, they left this morning.
Oh,
Yeah, they left today.
wow.
But we're going back east in a couple of weeks. I have a wedding to go to, and I'm going to be in New York, New Jersey for like 2 or 3 weeks in August.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice weather.
Yeah. Beautiful. Not humid, right? I mean, it's such a difference. Like you can feel it. It's just in the air.
Well, I lived in Miami for six
Oh, of
months. I
course.
know.
That's the center.
Well,
Yeah,
Cleveland was not any better.
that's also true. I've been to New Orleans and Houston. Also ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Well, I
But
went to Louisiana many times, but not in New Orleans. Well, I landed in New Orleans, but I went to a place called New Roads, further north.
you had a factory there.
Yeah, very humid there
Yeah,
also.
yeah. The
Yeah,
problem in New Orleans, when it gets humid, it smells.
yes.
Because the city's below sea level, so
Hmm.
the garbage they can't dig it down far enough, so you couldn't smell it. I've been there in August. Whew, it's ridiculous. Uh, but in Miami, people leave, don't they? I meant you, to be there in August in Miami. It's like
Well, I left in August. I went from January to August.
ah,
So if there's some yawning going
It
on,
was
not person,
unreal.
yeah.
there's some yawning going on tonight. We got
Oh,
back,
because you just got
we
back.
literally just got back, less about 18 hours ago,
Oh,
and we're here.
okay. The Yellens are here at our home. They
Oh,
just
very
got
nice.
back they went on tour in motion. They went to France and Belgium.
Oh,
Nice.
oh,
They went to Rashi, Troyes, and with
uh-huh.
Marsamwa, Paris, and
Rouen,
Yeah.
Rouen, cathedral there, right?
yeah,
Beautiful.
Rouen is where Rabbeinu Tam and Rashbam live, and Ibn Ezra visited, and Ezra and Paul.
Yeah. In that town, they had the
Rouen,
Rouen,
Rouen.
where they burned her at the stake.
Oh, Joan of Arc? No, no, she wasn't
No.
burnt there.
Yeah.
Burnt somewhere else.
Rouen, she was burned also in France. Yeah,
Oh,
over
but Joan of Arc was burned somewhere else. Rouen
Yeah.
has a famous cathedral there.
Runs. Yeah, that's the famous. Yeah.
Okay. I believe we finished.
By the way, Ernie, just Sol Bernstein's wife had another operation yesterday.
No, I know. He
Refuah Shlema, yeah.
texted me. I think we're on 127.
Oh,
Correct, Mario?
I wasn't here last week.
Oh, yeah, I think we finished the laundering business.
Oh, yeah. I'm behind also then.
No,
127.
I don't think we were so far, Ernie.
I'm sorry, 102.
Yeah,
Shaking
right.
dust or dew off the
102,
garment.
shaking dust off.
Yes.
Okay,
We
good.
finished Rav Tzvi Riman.
Yeah.
Biography. Susie, I have a safer for you here.
It's less than 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, she did die in Rouen. She did die
Yeah.
in Rouen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Shaking.
mean, she did die in Ernie. She died in Rouen. She was burnt at the stake in Rouen. And the Balei Tosfos, you can still see today where the Balei Tosfos learned. There are
Well, Rabbeinu Tam and the Rashbam were there.
the down in the bottom.
They show you Joan of Arc there? No.
Yes, she was burnt.
I understand, but they said,
that's where the oldest clock in the world is. Yeah, we were there. It's a famous place.
And So what page?
102. Here, Susan, you could sit here.
Very good.
Okay, just some housekeeping. There's not going to be any tzurba for the next 2 weeks
Chasing out.
because we'll be chasing elephants. But we'll resume when we come back, God willing. So far, we have seen that the prohibition of laundering applies in many cases of wetting fabrics with water. What is the halacha concerning other forms of cleaning garments without any liquids? The Gemara states that even the act of shaking out one's clothing may sometimes be considered a biblical melacha of laundering. The Gemara limits this ruling to circumstances in which the shaking is understood to be substantial in the care of the clothing, which according to the Gemara is true only for new black garments, which one wishes to keep clean. Otherwise, shaking the garment is entirely permitted. Ravuna.
Ernie, what about shaking a tablecloth, which is common, of crumbs?
So that's not a garment. Remember we talked about ways of cleaning crumbs off a tablecloth in a permitted. It's forbidden to use a wet rag or towel for cleaning a table or floor, as cleaning in this manner involves squeezing liquid out of the rag or towel. If a spill occurs on a fabric tablecloth, then in addition to avoiding wringing the item used to wipe the spill, one must avoid pressing on or wringing the tablecloth as well. So, but remember, that's getting it wet.
Yeah,
You're
nothing about
describing
shaking.
crumbs. I don't think that wouldn't be a problem.
Okay, thanks.
122, 102, excuse me.
We just dealt with, if it was wet, wiping up spills was the problem. Okay. The Gemara HIlchos Shabbos, Kuf Mem Vov. Ravuna Menar Taliso b'Shabbos. You shake out your cloak, Chayv Chatas. V'lo amar an ela b'chadati, a new one. Av batiki less than but if it's old, it's not a problem. V'lo amar an be'uchim, it's got to be black. Av b'chivri v'sumki, if it's white and red, less than but. V'hu dekapid alayu. If you're not really makpid on your garment, it's okay to shake it out. Ula ikla pumbedisa. Ukla traveled to Pumbedisa. Tzurba Mrabanan to come and not speak limayu. He found rabbis shaking their coats off. Amar kamachalin Rabbanan Shabta. What are they all machal Shabbos? Amar Rav Yehuda nefutzi le ba'ape. You can shake it. Anan lo kabdi midi. We don't really care about our clothing, so it's not. That's this issue about being makpid. So although Rishonim agree that the Gemara's discussion about shaking a garment relates to the Melacha of laundering, the assumption that the Melacha under discussion here is that of laundering is presumably based on the fact that Rav Huna's statement is brought in the Sugi of the Mishnah concerning wetting and drying one's garments on Shabbos, which relates to the Melacha of laundering. Furthermore, there's no other Melacha that logically relates to cleaning garments other than laundering. So even though the Rishonim agree that this discussion about laundering, there's some debate concerning what exactly is being shaken from the garment and the parameters of the prohibition. According to Rashi, the question surrounds shaking off dust or the like from one's cloak. And this Gemara teaches that a person can become liable from lack of laundering even though the fabric never comes in contact with water. Up until now, we've been learning, right? If you walk through a river and then you have a problem because you're going to do schita, you're going to squeeze it out, or you're going to clean your garment. So if it's dirty water, if your garment is dirty, so there was always liquid involved. So here Rashi says, "Amenar taliso mina afar." You're just getting rid of the dirt. Chayv chatas dizel libuna. That is its laundry. That's cleaning it. Or according to Tosfos, shaking off dry dust and debris cannot be called laundering. the understanding of kibbutz was it was always going to be with some form of liquid. Thus, the Gemara must be discussing shaking off dew or other light moisture. Haminar taliso perish Rabbeinu Chananel minatal she'alav, from the dew. Dainu kibbutz v'libun, because there would be kibbutz and libun involved, and you'd be chai v'chatas. Aval says Tosfos, arguing with Rashi, b'nir min ha'afar, if you're just shaking off dust or dirt, k'dipirsh b'kuntrus, like Rashi explained, ein near shia shaykh libun. He doesn't think that libun's involved. So, according to this view, this third view of Rabbi Chananel that we quoted, and the Bahag, the Baal Halachas Gedolos, who was around, lived around the same time, the post-Gaonic, you're talking about the year 1900, something like that. The Gemara is discussing whether a person may shake filth and not dust or dew from the garment. Peirush, says Rabbi Chananel. Many times you'll see Rabbi Chananel in the margin of the Gemara as a Peirush, right? He's like an early Steinsaltz, right? Perush hamanar kidichsiv hisna'ari me'afar kumi. Shake off your dust. Oh, im yesh lav davar tinuf, you had some debris. Oyser ravun al nafso. Avalim hu beged yashon, if it's an old garment. Or lavano adam, if it's white or red. V'lo kapitalayu, and you're not really makpid about your garment so much. Shori b'chein halacha. The Gemara Masechta Shabbos Kuf Mem Zayin Amud Aleph concludes this discussion by citing an incident in which Rav Yosef ruled that there was no problem to shake dew off his hat on Shabbos. This was justified because people were not particular about the cleanliness of the hat. I mean, the hat is protecting people. It's not, so it's going to get rained on and this and that, right? In accordance with the conclusion of the previous passage of the Gemara. Abai avakai koi kamed Rav Yosef. Abai was by Rav Yosef. Omer lei, havli kumsoi, give me my hat. Chazadi katala, he saw there was moisture on it, dew. Hu kamachasem le'mesevilei. Rav Yosef had asked Abai for the hat. Abai was concerned to give it to him because he thought by giving it, the dew would be shaken off. Armalei nefot shadi, go ahead and shake it off. Anan lo kabdimi, I don't care about my hat being dirty or not dirty. So it's permitted to shake it off. Incidentally, it appears that the dispute between Rashi and Tosfos is informed by their reading of this incident. According to Rashi, perhaps since the Gemara here specifies that there was dew upon the hat, it may be inferred that the earlier discussion involved a garment which had no moisture upon it. By contrast, Tosfos understands that the Gemara cites Rav Yosef's instance specifically involving dew only because it sheds light on the early discussion, which also related to dew. So, with all this Rishonim, how did the Shulchan Aruch rule? He ruled in accordance with the position of Tosfos, according to which there is liability only for shaking off dew if the garment is new and black, and the person cares about its remaining, that it remain clean. But shaking off dust would be permitted. The Ramah rules that it is proper to avoid shaking off dust, in accordance with the view of Rashi. The Ramah also writes that one may remove feathers from a garment or any item that is not absorbed or run into it. It would seem that any other liquid has the same status as dew in this regard. They're going to discuss snow later. Neither the Shulchan Aruch Ramah here referenced the opinion of Chanal and the Bahag, but we'll see in the next section that their opinion is discussed later. Says the Shulchan Aruch in Shin Beis, Haminar talis chadasha shchor benatal shalech chayiv. You're not allowed to shake off a new black garment with dew if it was moist. Shanir yafela kamo kibus. Shaking it off is like laundry. And and the person has to care about not wearing it in that state. Says the Ramah, Kol shekain she'asr l'nar beged she'nosher b'mayim, if it was soaked in water or sheyardel of kshamim, rain, v'davka b'beged chodesh makbidol, that's a new garment that he cares about. Yeshoimim dosel beged min avak shalah. That's Rashi, right? Who prohibited even shaking a dusty garment in Makbid Alat. Tov lochush lidvarav. It's good to be careful about Rashi's opinion. If feathers were on your garment, that can be removed. However, according to Mishnah Berurah, the Ramah is not stringent enough in this matter. As several Rishonim rule in accordance with Rashi, thus he writes that one must behave as though shaking dust off of clothing is prohibited midaraisa. Ayin be'elia Rabba, right? Another later Achron, shekosas de Medina yesh iser bezeh, ki arbe Rishonim serving kashitas Rashi. The tov lizor ki shabar shachris b'shabbos lebeis hamidrash laniach koivu of Godov b'mokom shimur kedosh lo yiplu lo aretz v'yalu avak alem v'avolach HIlchos Shabbos. He says, when you come to shul, shachris in the morning, be careful where you put your hat and your coat, that they don't fall to the ground, because they'll become dusty, and if in your attempt to clean it, you're going to be HIlchos Shabbos. Earlier we saw that the Gemara qualifies the prohibition to shake off clothing on Shabbos and limits it to clothing which is new and black, and one is particular about it becoming dirty. Were these criteria meant to be absolute, such that today it is permitted to shake dirt or moisture only from any clothing which does not meet all these conditions? Or are these merely the conditions which determine the laundering in Talmudic times? But today, everything depends on whether a person is particular in the garment or not. The Bir Halacha, again, the Mishnah Berurah suggests that these qualifications that we mentioned are stated only with regard to the assumed status of things. In other words, if there is a new black garment, a person in earlier times was assumed to be particular about keeping the garment clean. But even if the garment is not new and black, regarding other people or anyone who's particular to wear only a garment clean from moisture or dust, it would be forbidden to shake them on Shabbos, whether they were red or new or not, both according to Shulchan Aruch and Ramah. According to Bir Halacha, the Shulchan Aruch permits shaking off dew or other moisture only if one does not mind its presence there, but not if one does not want it to remain there. Then the Shulchan Aruch would also say you couldn't do it. The Ramah would hold similarly for both shaking off dew or other moisture, as well as dust. Right? Says the Bir Halacha, l'fi zeh, harotz l'nar taliso shi chadeta v'uchma. If you want to shake off your new coat that's black and new, ein mutter, you're not permitted to do it. Elam kem yadua lo shein dark lak b'tem zeh. Unless you know yourself for sure that you don't care about it. V'efshar l'fi zeh, dim yadu shafilu b'chibur v'sumki kam ken dark lak b'tshlo lav shablamir. If a person is careful, even in his white garments, his red garments, not to go out with them dirty, yea, also gam sham l'nair, you would not be able to shake your garment either.
What about if you're a big Talmud Chacham? You're not allowed to go with stains or dirty stuff.
But you're not allowed to violate kibbutz.
But if you're not
shaking it off is a HIlchos Shabbos. Those other things are kavod abrius, midrabanan. It doesn't have the same stringency. That's why the Mishnah Berurah said, "Be careful where you hang your hat and your coat on Shabbos, because if you get it dirty, you're not gonna be able to shake it off."
Question is not to wear a black coat. This way, don't get so much dust on it.
But you see what the Bir Halacha said here. Even if it's not black, if you're the type of person you're not going to go out with a dirty garment, then shaking off any garment, even if it's red or white, would also be prohibited. That's quite stringent halacha.
Very stringent.
Ultimately, the Shmir Shabbos Hilchos rules stringently in accordance with the position of the Ramah and the stringent interpretation of the Bir Halacha. The Shmir Shabbos Hilchos adds that if one is not usually particular about the garment's appearance, then one may always brush away dust, even if one does not care about the appearance more at this specific moment.
Yes.
Even if one does care about the appearance more at this specific moment. So you can always brush some dust away, Walter, says the Shmir Shabbos. You have a garment that got dirty, dusty. If it's a garment that normally you'd be careful about its cleanliness, ukidalon. Also naru, you can't shake it. Or lasir tafakshal, or remove it. Remove the dust. Achimu beged she'en regilim lakbid on the kyo. No. If it's a beged that you're not that careful about, you can beat it softly with your hand or with a dry rag or shake it lightly.
It's counterintuitive, though.
Why?
Right, because if you makpid, yeah, Easternis, there's everything for Easternis. You're a Easternis. Yeah,
Well, but if you're makpid, then the laundry becomes an issue for you.
I get it. That's why I say it's counterintuitive, because you would think that if you're in Easternis, that you would have to have the.
You would be given to permission to do it.
Right. That's why it's.
But we're used to istiness, like by shaving, so we're lenient, right? Or by finicky.
What happens if a guy comes past you? You're walking, and he comes past you on Shabbos, and he sees that there's dust on your back, and he gives you a clap, and he says, "Oh, I got rid of it for you." What happens then?
Yeah, well, he shouldn't be doing it either.
It's on him.
You have to show him this halacha.
Right.
He says, "Aval aser l'shafshafo." You can't scrub it. Or l'naro b'chozek rav, or to rub it, hard rub that you can't do. Or a brush. If you have like a long black coat, most people are careful about such a thing. Okay, dark clothing, if they're new, or nirim kechadoshim. If someone is not particular about wearing them, even if they're dirty, then begodim she'ein regilim la'akbid al nekyonim hein begodim b'tzevoim behiram, like bright clothing, or afilu begodim shchorim okeim, dark clothing, ve'meshumoshim, they don't look new, they're used. She'ein nirim kechadoshim. Achgam begodim eile im alov sham makpid shol lelov sham. If the one who's wearing them is not going to wear them unless it's clean. That's that Ramah, the Bir Alocha, where even if it's red or white, if you're makpid, you wouldn't be able to clean it. If you have a garment that people are not makpid, the lov shogam kshenu naki, elashachshavu menarum, they cover their Shabbos and they call Melacha. Dino kidin bek kshen makpid alav. So, if you have like a raincoat, maybe there people, don't care necessarily about its cleanliness. If you shake that out, that's not a problem. According to the HIlchos Yosef, Sephardim may follow the simple, more lenient understanding of the Shulchan Aruch. It should be noted that even some Sephardic poskim take a more stringent approach than the HIlchos Yosef, such as the Ben Ish Chai and the former chief rabbi, Rav Mordechai Eliyahu. So there's two leniencies. Unlike the Bir Halacha and Shmir Shabbos Kolchasa, only black and new garments are forbidden to shake off, even if one is particular to wear when clean. Any other garments may be shaken off, even if one only wears them when they are clean. The Shulchan Aruch Harav understands both the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah this way. Thus, this opinion, even Ashkenazim would be permitted to shake off both dust and dew from any garment unless it's black, new, and was particular about keeping it clean. As mentioned above, most Ashkenazi poskim today are stringent concerning any garment upon which one is particular to wear only when clean. Back to the HIlchos Yosef, so long as the garment is not wet, by letter of the law, it is permitted to shake it, even if it's black, new, and what is particular that it remains clean. However, he adds that it's worthwhile to be stringent to clean dry dust in an unusual manner, like maybe with the back of your hand instead of the front of your hand. Aval beged yarshan, an old garment, or beged atzavua, colored garment, b'shar tzvoim behirim, b'chein beged afilu chadash, even a new garment, she'eno makpid alav. You're not makpid on that such a garment, shalalav shablian nir matal. Mutter l'nar b'shabbos ki lasir tatam al beged. You can remove even moisture from such a beged. Beged chodosh, hatzavua b'shar tzvoim kehim. If you have dark-colored new garments, not black but dark, hamekel and armin atal sha'alav, yeshol malismoch. If you even shake off some dew, you have someone to rely on. But in general, you should treat it like a black garment. Beged o kovashin islach lek me'afar. A hat or a garment that got dirty with dust. Muchel anar b'Shabbos, you can shake it off. Af beged chodesh shach or makelav shaliva shabeged imalachlos, because it's not moist. Shulchan Aruch only cared about moist, and that's why the Yosefs that follow the Moran Shulchan Aruch are being lenient here. Shaladas Moran Shulchan Aruch dafka b'talu v'geshem osel nako b'Shabbos. When it was beged chodesh shach or shomak b'sholov shabli anikui, even then it had to be a certain type of garment, black, new. Then he prohibited you from shaking off the dew. Aval bavat v'chadoma, but if it was dust or dirt, yesh lakel b'zeh. You can be lenient. He permits you to use a brush. But do it in a shinu kigon b'sharval choltzato v'chadome, like using the sleeve of one shirt as opposed to a brush. The Yalkut Yosef also addresses snow, which has fallen onto a garment. In such a case, he differentiates between intact snow, which is similar to feathers, may be removed, and melted snow, which has the status of a liquid. Mutter lanar benachat, softly, you can shake off sheleg. Of course, we're talking about people living in Yerushalayim, right? Shirat al, or the Chermon, right? Shirat al big dovelon namas, hadn't melted yet. Afilu chadash v'shachor, even if it's new and black. Shukamon notzos shemutter lasur, it's like the feathers that we said you're allowed to remove. If it's already melted, then you can't shake it because that's the sheet of the Shulchan Aruch.
There's always going to be moisture in that.
We're talking about like the snow just fell and it's a piece of snow.
Yeah, but there's definitely moisture there. It's like kibbutz. There's definitely moisture.
Well, if the snow doesn't melt and snow is very feathery, you can get it off, and it might not cause moisture.
Yeah.
And then once you do that, and if there's any moisture on the garment, you shouldn't shake that moisture off. But it's going to be very minimal. Rav Yosef assumes here that snow is not muktzah, even if it fell that day and may be moved on Shabbos. This is the opinion of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach and many other poskim. However, Rav Moshe Feinstein maintains that snow is muktzah, it may not be moved. So you wouldn't be able to shake it off of your coat. Okay. Removing dirt from fabrics without liquid. As we have discussed, wetting or soaking fabrics on Shabbos is usually forbidden due to the principle of soaking as laundry. Certainly then, one would not be allowed to actively rub or clean any fabric or garment using water, subject to the qualifications mentioned above concerning wetting. However, as we will see, there is some debate regarding removing dirt from a garment without the aid of liquid. Earlier, we saw a dispute between Rashi, Tosfos, Rabbeinu Chananel, and the Bahag concerning how to interpret the discussion of the Gemara about shaking something from one's garment. According to Rabbeinu Chananel, the Gemara forbids removing dirt that adheres to a garment, even without water, if the person is particular not to wear it when it's dirty. Elsewhere, the Gemara Masechta Shabbos concludes that a person is permitted to scrape mud from one's garment using a fingernail, which appears to contradict the opinion of Rabbeinu Chananel. Amrav Kana, tit, mud, sha'al gabi bigdo, that's on his garment, mikaska somi bifnim, you rub it off from the inside, vein mikaska somi bachutz, you can't rub it on the outside, which I don't at this point understand. Well, I don't know what they mean, rub it off from the inside. I mean, if the mud is on the outside, how do you rub it off from the inside? I don't know.
I agree.
Meisvei, titshal gabi menalo. If you have mud on your shoe, megaro begav sake, you can use a knife, the back of a knife, which I guess is a shinoi. Vishal bigdo megaro b'tziporen. You can use your fingernail, scrape it off. Uvavachli kaskes, as long as you don't rub it. And my love shli kaskes klal. Seems like you can't do any rubbing. Lo shli kaskes b'chutz. You can't rub it on the outside, but you can rub it on the inside. Okay. What does the Shulchan Aruch say? Titshal begado mishav shavo mivifnim. You can rub it from the within. De lo muchamilsa de la achzui kemave. I guess like a Tamar Sayin thing. It doesn't appear that you're laundering. Avalo b'chutz. But not on the outside. The domi lemalabin magar b'tzipor. How would Rabbeinu Chanal explain the Gemara? Does the Shulchan Aruch rule against the Pesir Rabbeinu Chanal and the Bahag? The Bir Halacha addresses these questions and attempts to differentiate between their respective cases in one of two ways. The Bahag ruling applies only when the garment is black and new, and the individual is particular not to wear it when dirty. But in the case in which the person is not particular, the Gemara rules that it is permitted to remove the mud. It's forbidden to clean the garment thoroughly, so that no residue remains, but it would be permitted to remove the primary filth without also removing all the residue. You can't ask against the Bahag, my paskin on the titshal gabi bigdo megar b'tziporen, that the Gemara seemed to say you could scrape it out with your fingernail. My odif davzer mizer pishtan or tavshal ksuso. The Bahag said that you can't remove flaxseed or food. Either it's not a new garment that you're allowed to do it in, or you're not makpid on the garment. This is the primary understanding. The titshal gabi bigdo after magorbi b'tziporen, even if you scrape it with your fingernail, the stain is there. You get rid of the bulk of the filth. Certainly, if it's moist, so it would not be considered laundering, and you'd be able to remove it anyway. Food or flaxseed that got dried on your garment. When you scrape it, you're going to remove the stain. You can only shake it, which is only not in the new or bein makpid. So, in addition to questions of laundering, we should note that the Shulchan Aruch here writes that according to some opinions, we would remove the mud if it's dry, due to the melacha of grinding. When can you remove it if it's moist? Aval yavesh aser. David toichen, you're grinding. The Shemir Shabbos Hilchos summarizes under what terms is one permitted to remove dirt from a garment. If the dirt is moist and part of the stain will remain, one may rub from the inside of the garment. You can scrape even the outside with a fingernail or the back of a knife, or wipe lightly with a dry rag. If the dirt is dry, one may remove it only if it is the dirt of a food product, which has already been ground or smashed, and part of the stain remains. Moist or dry stains, which are absorbed but can be completely removed, one may remove absorbed stains if one is not particular about this garment becoming dirty. Debris that is not absorbed into the fabric at all, you can remove unwanted debris or items which have fallen into the fabric without becoming absorbed into it. Beged shenidbak bo lichluch. You have a garment and there's some dirt attached to it. Even though it's a type of garment that you would be makpid not for it to be dirty. If it's moist, V'hu yashir kesem l'chashiyusar. And when you remove the bulk of the whatever that dirt was, there's a stain that's going to remain mutar. L'shav shafo b'tzido apnim mishal ha'beged. Rub it on from the inside. Ad sheyipola lichlut. Somehow it falls off. V'chein mutar l'garo b'tziporin b'gavasakin. You can scrape it with your fingernail or the back of a knife. Afilu b'tzad ha'meluchlach shel ha'beged, even on the dirty side. And you don't have to do it on the inside. V'gam mutar l'kanechas ha'beged me'at. You can use a dry shmata. Be careful if the shmata you're using is moist, not to squeeze it out. If it's a wet towel, you shouldn't use it. When you're like pressing to clean the dirty whatever you're doing, you're squeezing. The fluid abluim b'matlis. V'chinosur lativ is a beged kedilin akoso. You can't wet the garment either to clean it. However, hayalich lecha nidba bebeged yavesh. If the piece of dirt on your garment was dry, kigon bots, mud, or refesh, osur lasir b'cholof, it can't remove it. Shralich lech yispor basar so. The dirt will crumble when you remove it. And then it's a problem with grinding. Right? If it's food item, which was already grounded, like some kind of dough, through cooking, Shuvismu v'shelas beans. Kiaz muter lasiro. Imachen alichluf yisher ketem beveget lachosh yosar. As long as it leaves a stain. Lichluch ben lacho ben yavesh. Dirt, whether it's dry or moist. Shenidbak beveget v'lo yasher kesem lachosh yosar. It won't leave a stain when you remove it. Muter lasiro. Rak mi beget shen rak b'lahak v'lam nekyono. Only from a garment that you don't care about. Lichluch hanimtza labeged. If you have some dirt on a garment, but it's not absorbed there, it's not stuck. There's no libun. You can leave, if like a leaf fell or a feather, sibet semer gefen, cotton fibers, thread, chut, even on a beged that you care about. It'll be out of a lobim. You can't use a brush. You have to use your hand. Okay.
Very complicated.
Huh?
Very complicated.
Let's start sewing. Page 127. We'll just start. Yeah. We'll just get into it. In this year, we will discuss the halachos of tofer, sewing, and korea, tearing. The Mishnah Masechta Shabbos delineates the parameters of these two melachos. Tofer is sewing at least 2 stitches. Korea is tearing in order to sew at least 2 stitches. The Gemara further clarifies that one transgresses the biblical melacha of sewing only when tying the stitches on both sides, so that they remain securely in place. Avos melachos arbaim chaser echad. V'toifer shnei tfiros. You sew 2 stitches. A kura amanaslit for. The tearing is only to tear because you're going to sew. Frei the Gemara v'halo kam. 2 stitches are not going to last. On Rav Rachon, on Rav Yechon, v'hu shekshon. You're talking about you tied at the end of the ends of the thread. It was tied so that it wouldn't unravel. However, defining tofer as sewing stitches with a knot seems very similar to the melacha of kosher, tying. We will discuss this in the next year. Thus, the HIlchos Shabbos distinguishes these 2 melachos as follows. What's the difference between the melacha of sewing and the melacha of tying? In sewing, you're joining two pieces of cloth together. So the purpose of sewing is to connect, right, two Yiriyo sheets, whether you sew it with thread, you press two plastic curtains with pressure. Either case, hareza bichlam lechas toifer. V'ilum lechas akoisher, tying is only oseches bechutin v'chaber, is tying two threads together or two ropes together, not two sort of pieces of cloth. Shayidei krichasan b'tzura mesuyemes notzer kesher. Here you've made a connection. Zuim lechas machshava shel hakoisher. V'atorah HIlchos Shabbos elul beis melachos shonos. The Torah saw that as two different melachos. Today, sewing at home is far less common than it once was. However, as we will see, the melacha of tova remains relevant in most homes. To better understand how, let us first look at some of the relevant sources which address the parameters of the melacha. HIlchos Shabbos Ayin Hey discusses whether a person may tighten a loose stitch on Shabbos. You see a stitch, and one thread is loose, and you tighten it, you're chayv chatas. But you're talking about you had two pieces of garment sewed together, and like they were coming apart, and then by tightening that thread, you prevented that, then you're chayv. So the Shulchan Aruch says chut shel tfira sheniftach. A stitch became loose. Also lematcho. You may not tighten it, mishum toifer. The Mishnah Berurah rules that although it is always forbidden to tighten a stitch, sometimes tightening is forbidden only Rabbanan. V'oisaken chayv chatas. V'ushasa kesher levasof. Afilu enishal kaima. That's if the thread is at the end. Aval below kesher klal potter. But if there's no knot, it's only mid Rabbanan aser. If three stitches become separated and you tighten it, even without forming a knot, you'd be chayv. Based on this, it would be forbidden to pull the thread tight on a hammer seam that became loose so that the ends spread apart slightly. Similarly, the Shmir Shabbos Kelchoser rules that one may not secure a loose button by tightening the thread. A stitch became loose. You can't tighten it. Same thing. If there's a thread that's connecting the button to the garment, and by pulling on the thread you tightened it, that would be asur. However, the way the Yalkut Yosef learns, it's permitted to tighten the string of a hood or a jacket on a jacket to tighten the hood. Unlike the case mentioned above, in which tightening the thread is an integral action of the productive process of sewing, pulling the dross is fundamentally temporary action, which does not alter the identity of the item in any way. I mean, in the end, you can loosen it and tighten it and loosen it and tighten it. Shrocha mushchal, the string at the end of a hood, you can tighten it, or loosen it. Even though it tightens and becomes tight on your head, by undoing it seems to release this. It's no problem. Okay, I'm going to stop here.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And we'll pick up in a few weeks. We'll let everybody know. So let's see. We're going to be gone 2 Tuesdays, so it's the 3rd Tuesday from today.
Harold found out. Oh, Mario, go ahead.
Yes, Mincha at 6 tomorrow.
At Young Israel.
Okay, so let's learn at 5.
Okay.
Okay.
5 o'clock will be better.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. Go ahead.